From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Hi guys, I was listening to your listener mail segment where you talked about recurring dreams, and I found Ben's theory of how your subconscious mind can be trying to remind you or make you aware of something in your waking life. That then had me thinking of an interesting concept of whether dreams can be predictive in a sense, whether it's possible to dream something and have it come true in your real or waking life. Ever since I could remember, I've had very vivid dreams. I'm a clinically diagnosed insomniac. It's very hard for me to sleep at night, but when I do, I'm an active lucid dreamer. We've been deep into the dream content lately, so much so that oftentimes I'm not aware I'm in that state at all until something unpleasant happens in my dream and I suddenly change it. Side note, that would also be an interesting topic to dive into, how one can change or control what happens in their dreams and how it happens in the first place, because it's a skill I had before I even knew what it was. And we very much did cover that in a recent listener mail or Strange News episode. I can't remember, but it was just like a week or so ago. Anyways, I often have very vivid dreams and real dreams. Many times something happens in my dreams that comes true in my waking life later. Whether it's an event, someone dying, or something as simple as someone saying something or doing something they did in my dream. Sometimes these dreams will come true days later or even years later, but they come true. For example, I had a dream that one of my uncles died from a heart attack. I dreamt going to the funeral with my parents and remember seeing and feeling how distraught everyone was. I even remember the clothing our family wore to his service. This dream happened several years ago, and I had put it out of my mind hoping it wouldn't be a dream that would come true, just a nightmare. Well, last year, that same uncle passed away from a heart attack. And get this, when we went to his funeral service and met up with family, they were all wearing the exact same outfits they were in my dream and were acting the same exact way they were in my dreams, even down to their movements. There's another incident of a dream coming true for me where I dreamt of walking along Descanso Gardens here in L.A. with my siblings. While we were walking, my sister had come across a rabbit that crossed our path and ducked under some bushes. My sister pointed it out to me and crouched down to take a picture. Just then her phone fell in the dirt and she cursed before picking it up. I had dreamt this days before. They suggested we go, and the same exact sequence of events with the rabbit came true. She was even wearing the outfit she was in my dream. I've had many dreams like this before, and every time they've come true. So I guess my question to you guys would be if there's a theory out there, or if you'd be willing to do a more in-depth episode about dreams and whether something like this is possible. We know of the theory that your dreams can be trying to remind you of something in your waking life, but can they also be telling you something that's going to happen in the future? Well, Lauren, you're in luck. We actually have a two-part series on this that we did a couple of years ago. It's called Have Dreams Really Predicted the Future? Parts 1 and 2, respectively. And we've got some interesting examples from history. One involving Abraham Lincoln, and one, I think, involving Mark Twain, Ben. Abraham Lincoln supposedly had a dream. It was reported by his bodyguard, a guy named Ward Hill Lamon, and it is in his biography, the story that was told by this bodyguard. The idea that Lincoln had premonitions of his own death, according to the story, just a couple of days before he was assassinated on April 14th of 1865. Lincoln told the tale of this dream that he had had, where a small group, including his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and Lamon himself, he walked into the east room of the White House to find a covered corpse guarded by soldiers and surrounded by a small group of mourners. When Lincoln asked in the dream one of the soldiers who had died, the soldier replied, "The president. He was killed by an assassin." And also, Lincoln had a very interesting relationship with this bodyguard. He supposedly insisted to Lamon that the body on display was not his own, so he himself did not view the dream as a premonition of his own end. But there's lots of kind of speculation that this may or may not have actually taken place, that kind of casting doubts on Lamon's story.
Mm-hmm. Well, this also wouldn't have been something widely reported because, or at least not in Lincoln's short lifetime, because if it were, it would be it would present a perfect opportunity to question the guy's mental well-being at the time in society. And the Mark Twain story, we mentioned that in the 2-part episode, which I think you'll really enjoy, Lauren. We mentioned this dream anecdote specifically because I sat through the entire multi-volume autobiography of Mark Twain, which was dictated by him on his deathbed. I understood the importance of editors, even for someone as good as Samuel Clemens. Like, you gotta summarize at some point, you know. But in that story, in that autobiography, he talks about how he dreamt of his brother Henry's funeral before it occurred, and it leads us to a really interesting discussion about something called retrocausality. Retrocausality is such a weird thing. We don't have to get in the weeds on it here, but that episode is out. It's specifically part 2 of that episode where we talk about this idea of a backwards cause and effect. No spoilers. That's all we're going to say about that. But a lot of people listening to the show today have had an experience like yours. My family as well. It's quite common on the, oddly enough, on the Bolin or Melungeon side of my family. One brief anecdote. I'm sure many people have these in their families. But one brief anecdote. An uncle of mine, who's a brilliant, somewhat sketchy dude, when he was the age of 6, he was going to go on a camping trip with a kid his age, a friend of his, and that kid's father. The night before, he had a dream, a vision that greatly disturbed him, in which the boat was struck by lightning and everybody on the boat died. So he refused to go. He got in trouble for being rude. And that Saturday, I believe it was a Saturday, lightning struck the boat. There was not a storm, apparently. Lightning struck the boat, and the man and his son died. And this is one of those things that makes you really question how far the concept of coincidence can go, you know, because those are very specific circumstances. And you might have encountered the same thing when you realize, whoa, everybody, this is a scene from my dream. Everybody's wearing the same thing. It gets really creepy when you see multiple real life commonalities with what you've dreamed about. Like, you might dream about a tiger and then you can go to a zoo and see a tiger, but that's not amazing, right? That's just, I mean, tigers are amazing, but a zoo is the place you'd be most likely to see them. You know what I mean? Right.
What is that called? Like Bader-Meinhof or something like that? Or the idea that, like, when something's on your mind, you start to notice it everywhere?
Yeah. But in the case of a rabbit running across your path at the zoo, that's not
different.
Normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Well, this wasn't at a zoo, though. This was just walking around in some gardens. It was just like, it was a wild rabbit.
And it was her idea to go out there, and she had the dream beforehand. Mm-hmm. I think it's cool. I think it's endlessly fascinating.
It's super cool. I mean, and obviously, you know, I mean, I think a lot of people are just starting to get into Dune, you know, because of this Denis Villeneuve film, which I thought was quite good. But dream premonitions play a huge part in that film. You know, the character of Paul Atreides constantly dreaming of the character that he will ultimately meet, you know, in the deserts of Dune, Arrakis, played by Zazie Beetz, which is the best name in entertainment, and then, you know, that becomes a really, really important part of the story. And then, like, this idea of precognition is a huge part of, like, that kind of with the weirding way and all of that stuff, and like it kind of ties in with the voice and all of that.
Oh man, I don't want to spoil these episodes for you, Lauren, but I get so excited every time that we have the opportunity to chat a little bit more about this in the waking world, because I didn't understand for a long time that the way I dream is not normal. But there's something interesting. We get into the concept of time travel. So the rules of reality in the universe as we encounter them now, as we recognize them collectively, they're kind of they're pretty solid for what we would say the middle of the size and time spectrum. But when you get to the really, really big stuff, and to the very, 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 very small things, those rules are not as iron-bound nor as constant as they appear from our current very limited perspective. It seems that at the quantum level, time may flow in more than one direction simultaneously. And we get really into like brain science, because your brain is made up, of course, of very, very tiny things. What are your thoughts made of? You know, how do they move? Oh man, okay, this is weird. Like we're full disclosure, we're recording this on a Tuesday, and this feels like a Friday conversation, doesn't it?
It sounds like a high day conversation. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just playing. No, we have been talking about this a lot, and I think it's something on many of our minds. Weird dreams and predictable, like possibly predicting the future or really truly reliving a past event through our minds in that little time machine that is closed off, you know, to everything else. And yet we still have senses in there, or we experience senses when we're in there. I mean, it's the flat circle thing. It's the, how is it possible that something like that could occur? Is time really what we think it is? Boy, Ben. Yeah.
Time after time. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's strange, because what we have to realize is that of course there is something that will be endlessly fascinating about the world, the separate world that so many people enter when they fall asleep. There is a bit of arrogance, however well-intentioned, in thinking that we collectively as a civilization have everything about this figured out. That is very much not the case. There is a ton of great research going into dreams. Dreams are one of the oldest forms of study of the mind in human history, right? Empires rose and fell based on dreams. Wars were waged or ended based on dreams. And even today, I think we brought this up more recently than the dream episode, but look, world leaders will still do stuff based on a dream they had. It is not near as uncommon as you might think. And I know it's 2021. You're thinking, shouldn't it be some sort of AI that's telling them what to do, running a simulation? Yes, but if they have a dream with something happening, then they might double check the AI. They might go with the dream. Who's going to stop them? What are you going to do? Vote? Sorry. Voting matters. I'm just saying it's such a quick decision.
Oh, come on. It's 2021, man. We don't vote anymore. It's a futile gesture.
Oh,
I'm kidding. It's important. Speaking of dream, though, I'm very excited, and I hope I'm not let down by the upcoming Netflix adaptation of The Sandman. If you're into dreams and fantasy and, mythology and like witchy stuff, highly recommend checking out those graphic novels before the show comes out. It's worth doing in and of itself, and hopefully it will enhance and not detract from your enjoyment of the show, and hopefully it doesn't suck. But very much looking forward to that. But I think this is a really interesting topic, and thank you for sharing, Lauren. And we're going to take a quick break and be back with some more messages from you.